Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for this evening's nerdy session of looking at this storm. I have been and looked at entirely too many weather maps over today. It's been a while since we had a good big snowstorm here in southern Vermont, and so it's got me all full of energy. So anyway, hope you're like that too. If you don't like the snow, but you're here just to see what's going on, we are going to get a decent amount of snow. Those are the Cliff Note versions. Exactly how much is still a little. We're going to get plenty of snow. Everybody's getting plenty of snow, but who gets huge snow, like 2 feet plus, I think is mostly going to be south of Vermont. But we're going to look at why there's going to be somewhat of a sharp cutoff. If you're following me from northern Rutland or northern Windsor County, you'll still get decent snow up that way, but not as much. So we're going to look at a ton of maps, talk a little bit. If you've got questions, please ask them in the live chat. It's something we're trying to add into I say we as the royal we, my goodness. It's something I'm trying to add into the videos. Just with an attempt to make this a little more interactive. We got extra time tonight at live streams like this. I'm not in any hurry to try to make this a succinct video. So if you can stick around, great. And if you've got a question, feel free to ask it. And it doesn't necessarily even have to do with the storm. No question is silly. No question is too in the weeds. Although I went to undergraduate school for meteorology the better part of 20 years ago now. So if it's really in the weeds, I'm going to have to do a little research because I remember a lot of my classes, but not everything. We're not doing any math on stream tonight. So yeah, okay, enough rambling. Let's see what's going on. We've got all sorts of interesting stuff going on. I want to start actually not with wind streams, although this is going to be an interesting one we're going to look at. I want to start by looking at radar because this obviously gets us going at what we're looking at this evening to get started. We've got a pretty good shield of moderate to heavy, mostly snow. Even these yellows, a lot of those are snow, although there's some sleet mixed in some of those yellow shades there. But what that's indicating is that we have some very heavy snow and sleet falling, and decent amount of moderate to heavy snow falling here across a lot of Pennsylvania, and this precipitation is starting to get into New York. I just looked at a bunch of the webcams. We may take a quick look at those later, but looks like north of New York City, I-87, places like that are starting to get snow covered on the roads there. So the snow is approaching. There's snow falling on the ground in Connecticut. We're still a few hours away, though. My guess is 10 o'clock. Maybe 9:30 by the time like a place like Bennington starts to see snow from the sky. Up where I am in Londonderry, probably more like 10:30 before the first flakes fly. If you're way up in, say, Heartland or up that way, or Norwich or something like that, kind of way up at the top of the area I forecast for, you're probably not till 11 o'clock, 11:30, maybe even close to midnight. Probably 11:30. You'll see your first flakes. Once it comes in, the first hour or so won't be super heavy, but then it will come down really hard. You can see that on radar. We've got kind of weak echoes here. And actually, one thing you can see too is they're struggling to advance, and that's because there's some really cold, dry air to our north. And that's what's going to be the limiting factor on how far the heavy band of snow gets. Because it's going to get to a point, it's going to keep pushing north, and then it's going to kind of stop. And the storm itself is going to kind of get shunted out slightly. It's going to go basically east-northeast. And the line is going to go kind of east-northeast of the heaviest snow too. The snow line will keep going, but the heavy band will kind of get stuck. And where that heavy band gets stuck, I think is where there's going to be a pretty good cutoff. There'll be places that aren't more than 20 miles apart from one another. Somebody's going to get like 16, 17 inches of snow, and 20 miles north of them, you're going to find a place where they only get 6, 7 inches of snow. And if you go 20 miles north of the 6, 7 inches of snow, or 30 miles north of that, you might only get like 4 or 5. I think northern Vermont still gets somewhat skunked out of this if you're north of Windsor and Rutland County, with only 2 to 5 inches depending on where you are. So, but for all of us in the area that I mostly forecast for, we're still looking at a pretty good snowstorm. Pete, when will we get the heaviest snow? Great question. The heaviest snow in the heaviest snow in southern Vermont is going to come in probably 2 a.m. to about 6 a.m. in the morning would be my guess. Maybe holding on until 7 or 8. o'clock in the morning. If that's Pete Barrel, who I know who lives in Long Island, down that way, your heaviest snow comes in the next. You get into the really heavy snow in the next hour or two. So there you go. If it's a different Pete B, then in southern Vermont, then it looks like 2 a.m. to about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Great question. So let's look at some more maps here. Like I said, I promised to get in the weeds. Plenty of cold air, really cold air to the north. We're in like the lower teens in northern New England. We're in kind of the mid-teens, 15, 16, 17 degrees in southern Vermont. And so we're also dry. Dew points are in the single digits. Dew point, what is that? That's the measure of how much moisture is in the air. If you say, how do you take that as a temperature? Well, so essentially, you take however much moisture is in the air, and if you just cooled the temperature in the air off but left the same amount of moisture in, eventually you'd get to where the air was holding as much moisture as it could when your relative humidity hit 100%. And then if you go any beyond that, you have to start getting rid of moisture somehow. Basically, you form clouds or rain. And so dew point is the measure at how cold the temperature would have to get in order for that to happen. When it snows or rains, for that matter, usually the dew point and the temperature, they come together. And actually, what happens is because as that dew point, as the temperature starts to come down and you moisten up the atmosphere, you also that actually cools the temperature in the air off through adiabatic cooling. I think I'm saying that word wrong, but anyways, it basically the physical process cools the atmosphere off, and they meet somewhere in the middle. So actually, we're likely to cool off a little bit more down closer to our dew points tonight. And so by the time it starts snowing here in Vermont, I wouldn't be surprised if we're in the middle, like 15, 16 degrees, which means it'll be very powdery snow to get us started. In terms of what kind of snow we're looking for, where was I going with that? Anyways, so dew points are very low. I guess that's where I was going with that. Let's take another look. Here we've got, this is wind streams. These are kind of fun. So first of all, this is at the surface. Earlier on was at the mid-levels, but here's at the surface. So you can see where all of our precipitation is coming together here, is where this is analyzing based on wind speeds and things like that, is analyzing that our low pressure system is currently just over Delaware, and it is kind of headed northeast at this point, and then it's going to get northeast eventually and sneak out just south of Long Island and just south of, probably right over Nantucket, probably, and maybe clip the Southern Cape. That's a pretty good snow track for us. Although it would be better for us, we'd be more assured to get big snow in southern Vermont if instead of going kind of sliding out that way, it slid up the coast and into the Gulf of Maine, which it's not going to do. So that would be, if it was going to do that, I would feel very confident that we were going to see snowfall totals of 20 to 30 inches of snow. But it's not going to do that. That's why I am pretty confident that places in like the Catskills, I think a lot of places in the Catskills will see over 2 feet of snow, particularly if you've got any of the higher elevations, which is mostly the Catskills. So because they're going to get, the storm's going to kind of go north for them before it kind of sneaks out east. And so they're going to get, usually you get on the northwest side of the storm, you get a nice heavy band of precipitation. We're going to kind of get into that, but the way the storm pulls out is going to kind of force and keep some of that away from southern Vermont. So in terms of, so that will kind of lessen the snow for us, I think, in southern Vermont, although we're still in for a good dumping. Let's see, let's take another look. So if we go up in the atmosphere a little bit, look at the same kind of idea, but this is at 850, which is kind of the low to mid area of the atmosphere. You can see how the, I need like 2 hands here. Maybe I'll do this on the with the whiteboard. Here, you can kind of see how we have we have very fast moving air moving in, and then slightly slower air moving out. Well, what happens when that happens is you've got a pile up of air in this area here. Now, air doesn't pile up, right? Obviously, that can't happen. So that means air has to go somewhere, and when it piles up like that, it forces the air up, which causes lift, which then causes, that's what causes rain, essentially. And so the lift happens and it rains out of or well, in this case, snow. Sorry, but precipitation happens in those lift areas. So we can see we've got strong. That's happening very strongly over Pennsylvania right here and over southern New York here. The question is how much of this area here is going to get into southern Vermont for our forecast. And I think it's definitely going to get in here, but the extent to how much. How long we're in that period, and it will start to break down as the storm starts to head east. This area here will start to weaken a bit, and so those heavy snow bands will ease up. If you just do the math, if it starts snowing here, let's say it starts accumulating snow on average in southern Vermont at 11 p.m., and I think we'll be done snowing by 11 a.m., accumulating snow by 11, maybe even by 8 or 9, 9. So we're talking 10 to 12 hours of snow. So if you have just to get a foot of snow, you got to get an inch of snow an hour. That's heavy snow. Inch of snow an hour is nothing to sneeze at. If you want to look at like 2 feet of snow, you've got to average 2 inches of snow an hour. That is very hard to do. It's possible. It's how you get those big snow totals, right? You get in a band of 3 to 3.5 inches of snow for 3 or 4 hours, and you can get a foot of snow in 3 or 4 hours. And I think there will be some places that get that. I think most of them will probably be in the Catskills, just kind of southwest of Albany, New York, would be my guess. And then maybe in the Berkshires as well, just south, maybe sneaking up into the very southern part of Vermont. But I think most of the rest of us, we're still going to get a foot of snow, probably a lot of us, in about 12 hours, which means it's snowing hard, but we're not in the crazy snow bands. We may get into places where you get 1.5 inches to 2 inches an hour for a couple hours, but to get into those really crazy bands where you can get 20 inches of snow in 12 hours, I think is going to be mostly south of us. Or southwest of us. But still a good dumping. By far our biggest snowstorm that we've had in, I'd have to look back last winter. We really did not have too much in the way of high performance snowstorms last year. The one that comes to mind is the March snowstorm 2 years ago, I guess now it would be. 2.5 years ago when we got 27 inches at my house. So that was the last time. That's what happens when you get in a big band like that. Fred, good question. Will Stratton get more snow than Londonderry? Yes, probably. Both because Stratton is south of Londonderry, also the added elevation. Elevation won't be a huge deal in this storm because everybody's more than cold enough. It's mostly about the dynamic processes that are going on, not so much about orographic, which is like wind over mountain kind of processes, but the mountains still help out a little bit, and the further south you are in the storm, the better. So Stratton will get more snow than Londonderry. So Londonderry, my guess right here in Londonderry is 10, 11 inches of snow. Stratton, I would say, is probably a couple more inches than that, 12, 13 inches of snow maybe for Stratton. And then if you head further south, like Jackpot areas, it will be far southern. So like Whitingham, Woodford, those kind of areas, as you head across Route 9, across the greens there, you're looking at probably 16, 17 inches of snow maybe down that way. Not a huge difference, but more snow the further south you go. If you go further north from here, even along in the spine of the Green Mountains, you get up to like Ludlow, maybe 9, 10 inches of snow. You get up towards Pittsford and Killington area, you're down a little bit more than that, like 7 to 8 inches of snow, I would say, probably for those areas. So, and then if you go into the valleys on either side of the Green Mountains, you take a couple inches off there too, right? So even though Ludlow is basically at the same north-south point as Springfield, so if Ludlow gets 9, 10, you're probably talking of 8, 9 inches in Springfield, an inch or two less of snow there. So same thing if you go west of the mountain down into like Dorset or something like that, or yeah, good question, great question. Okay, another map I want to take a quick look at until I get my next question there. Where was I here? Here we go. Nope, we'll go there later. Surface, just one more time to look at what's going on the surface here. Here's our surface low pressure, as we were talking about, right here, just south of Delaware, as it's moving north, it's continuing, and you can kind of see the trough line. It's going to follow that trough line just to the east, just off the coast of New Jersey to start, and boy, it would be great if it kind of followed the trough line all the way. That would be almost a little too far inland, but if it came pretty close to following that trough line all the way up, we would really get hammered, but it's going to follow the trough line to about New York City, and then kind of take a right-hand turn. And the reason it's doing that is this high pressure system, which we see here, very strong high pressure system, which is in a good spot. That's pretty much perfectly where you want the high pressure system to help enhance your snowfall. But it's almost too strong. It's going to shunt it to the south and east just a little too early for maximum snow in southern Vermont. It does mean that for some places, like I said, the Catskills, I think, and southwest of Albany, they will get big time maximums there, and also maybe just a little bit south of us. Like I said, the Berkshires. I think the Berkshires have a pretty good chance of getting like 18 to maybe 20-inch snowfalls. I think the big jackpots will be in the Catskills, where they could see I bet somebody there is going to get 30 inches of snow or close to 30 inches of snow out of the storm. So, let's take a look at that's just another surface analysis. Here's a different radar. Let me refresh this. This is from IntelliCast, or Weather Under. Well, I guess them and Weather Underground combined. Let me zoom in on that a little bit so you can see it a little better. And let's put it in motion. As you can see, looks like it's snowing on top of us now. That's called Virga. I'm sure if you're here, you definitely know what that is. That's just snow that's falling into dry air. And so it looks like it's snowing. It is snowing aloft, but as it falls, the precipitation, in this case, sublimates. So it goes straight from, because when something goes from a solid, that's a snowflake, into a gas, which is water vapor, it's called sublimation. Or sometimes you could say when it's rained, you'd say it melts. Or it evaporates, sorry. But here, basically, you can kind of see where the front line of that precipitation shield probably is, where you start to get into those darker blues. Let me draw that on the map here. I think it's probably somewhere around in here is where that precipitation line, where things are actually hitting the ground at this point. Matter of fact, let's take a quick look and see. We can look and see, these are ground observations as of 7 p.m. This is, whoops, let me get rid of that line there. This is, you can't really see. I didn't do this the right way here on the map. Let me make that a little smaller so you can actually see what the numbers look like. And let me pull it over and do this so you can actually see what we're looking at for places here. Sorry about that. Okay, this is New York State observations. You can see still not snowing in Albany as of 7 p.m. But if you look places, Glen Falls isn't snowing either. New York City is definitely all snow at this point. I said that was earlier. Poughkeepsie is snow already. Let's look at some other. Let's look at Connecticut and see where the snow's gotten to in Connecticut. We are snow most everywhere. We're not snow in. Not snowing yet in Hartford, it looks like, but we are snowing in most of the rest of Connecticut. Matter of fact, we're into moderate snow already down in Danby and Bridgeport. So the moderate snow's moved into Connecticut. Anything in western Massachusetts yet? I'm going to guess no, not quite yet. Oh, one place snow, we got snow in, that's Martha's Vineyard. So I'm guessing that is actually ocean effect snow. So that's where snow's gotten to. I bet you've got questions. I've been blabbing. Let's talk a little bit about some of the details here for the storm. Storm totals. I don't think we really need to change the storm totals from this morning. I still think these are pretty accurate. Some of the models still go a little more gangbusters than that. I wouldn't be surprised to see some areas in this part of the state get the plus on the 16. Up to 18, maybe even 20 inches of snow in southern Vermont some places. Like I said, I think we see a lot of like 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s in a lot of the rest of Bennington and Windham County, with the exception of maybe like north of Manchester on Route 7. It starts to you start to get a little less there. I think up in Windsor and Windham County, most everybody's going to see sort of 7 to 10 inches unless you kind of get northwest of Rutland, or if you're kind of northeast of, say, White River Junction. You kind of head that way. Or north of White River Junction. So, where you're only in like the 5 to 8 inch range. I think those are pretty accurate still. By town, in case you're wondering, I posted this earlier today, just a different way to think about things. This is sort of geographically oriented. So, we've got, numbers that would seem reasonable. Peru, 11 inches, Townsend, 12, Woodford, 18, big jackpot winner down there. They always win. In that regard, so if you're up in Brandon, you're looking at probably only like 5 inches of snow. So, a pretty good amount. Dummerston, 13, maybe 14 in Brattleboro or something along those lines. So, storm highlights, just to kind of go over some of this kind of stuff. Plenty cold enough for all snow. Snow starts between 10 and midnight. 2 to 3 inches an hour are possible between 2 and 10 a.m. That's probably more like 2 and 6 a.m. I think 6 to 10 a.m. is more like an inch an hour is possible. Snow ends by noon at the latest, I think. Travel is going to be tough tomorrow morning. No in-person school. Most schools have already canceled. And snow is light and fluffy, and so no strong winds, so power outages will not be a problem. Let's see. Anybody else got any questions or anything like that that you had specific about the storm? Love to answer any of those. And we could take a quick look. Let's take another look. Let's go back to radar, reload that one more time, see what radar looks like. We're definitely in the nowcasting phase of the storm. Let's refresh. See what it gives us now. Doesn't look much different because that's how radar works. Oh, and you can't see that. Sorry. I am doing that off stream. There we go. And let me scroll this over so we can see that again one more time. That's what that looks like. So one thing I would ask, if you're with me now, I'd ask, feel free to send in pictures tomorrow. Let me know how much snow you've got. We'll start a feed on Facebook. I'll do some sort of video thing tomorrow morning. I might do a live stream just as kind of fun, just talking about what's going on. I'm going to try to take a bunch of pictures of what's going on snow-wise. I love to see the pictures, love to get your measurements in. It's a ton of fun. At the moment. Good, Pete. Good question. Is this basically a done deal at this point? What is the probability it will overperform? I think for us in southern Vermont, it's unlikely it will overperform unless you're in far southern Vermont. So the places that it could overperform for us, I think, are places like in the southern half of Bennington and Rutland, Bennington and Windham County. I wouldn't be shocked if some places came in closer to 2 feet right along the Mass-Vermont border. I think it's unlikely that the heaviest band gets into even like where I am in Londonderry. So I think it's unlikely I get much more than a foot of snow. I also would be a bit concerned it could underperform. There is going to be a sharp cutoff somewhere, and I think that a sharp cutoff is going to be somewhere kind of between southern Windsor and Rutland County and the north part of those counties. So a place like Weston at the very southern central end of Windsor County could easily get 11 inches of snow, 12 inches of snow, wouldn't be surprised at all. 10 to 12 is probably a good estimate for Weston. Northern part of the county, even in the center part of the state, even in the mountains, probably only 6 to 7. So good question. When will the next storm be? Geez, Kathleen. My wife wants to know when I'm going to be busy again. Right after this, we get pretty quiet. There's a chance of a clipper early next week, and then there may be another storm around Christmas Eve into Christmas. That Christmas Eve into Christmas storm models, it's way too early, but the models are all over the place, whether we get rain, snow, or nothing. But those are kind of your next two windows. It'd be like Tuesday. That storm looks pretty weak, and then maybe a stronger storm, maybe. But it's too far out to know for next like Thursday into Friday, so Christmas Eve into Christmas. Let me think. Any other things I wanted to mention? Yeah, like I said, follow social media tomorrow. It'll be more about posting snowfall totals and things like that instead of we're kind of done with the forecasting, obviously, at this point. But maybe it'll be a live stream. If there is, I'll post it on social media. And you can always keep an eye on for things like that. And yeah, weather gets really nice after the storm. You'll be able to go out and enjoy the snow a lot. Friday, Saturday, Sunday look like great ski days. So Friday and Saturday, pretty much full sun, nice bluebird ski days. If you get a chance to get out, or if you like to snowshoe, it'll be amazing. If you like to cross-country ski, you should be able enough snow to do all those kinds of things. Sunday, we'll have some clouds. We could have a brief flurry or sprinkle on Sunday, so not quite as nice, but still a pretty nice day on Sunday. And it would be a very brief, not really anything to worry about, sprinkle or a flurry on Sunday. So enjoy the snow. If you're a kiddo and you got the day off, or if you have kiddos and they have the day off, hopefully they enjoy the day. And otherwise, if you can, stay in tomorrow. Travel will be bad in the morning. Roads should be getting better by late tomorrow afternoon, especially main roads. Side roads could be kind of slushy through probably by Friday morning. You'll be pretty safe to get out and not really have to worry about too much. Okay, thanks for joining me for the live stream tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Feel free to share my stuff if you want to have other people get involved. Like I said, the more of these we do, I'd love to keep answering the questions. They're fun. And I appreciate everybody following what we do here at the Weather Guy, at the West River Weather Guy, and what we do. I keep using the royal we. That's so ridiculous. What I do. You know what it is? For most of you know, I pastor a church with my wife, Kathleen. We pastor together, and so often we talk about what we're doing together. And so I think that's why I do this for the Weather Guy. But Kathleen, besides being supportive and posting a bunch for me, does not really participate in the snow stuff. All right, thank you, everybody. I'm definitely in ramble mode. Have fun in the snow tonight.